1. Samantha Lee, former Metropolitan Police Service constable. What happened? Samantha Lee was a constable at the Metropolitan Police. In a disciplinary hearing, she was found to have been dishonest in her investigation of Wayne Cozen's indecent exposure incidents in 2021. She claimed she believed CCTV footage would be deleted automatically. The panel concluded this amounted to gross misconduct. Why it matters. Although the primary misconduct was hers as opposed to the exposure offender, the case highlights how investigative failures and dishonesty inside the force can compound victim suffering and damage confidence. It also shows a female officer implicated in misconduct, not just a victim. Reflection. Investigative integrity is crucial. When someone inside fails, it undermines the system. Even when misconduct isn't as sensational as assault, it still breaches trust and can hamper justice. 2. Mary Ellen Bentley Smith, formerly West Mercia Police. What happened? She was involved in the response to the death of Dalian Atkinson in August 2016, while her male colleague was convicted of manslaughter. Bentley Smith used her baton to strike Atkinson as he lay dying. A misconduct tribunal found her acts unnecessary, disproportionate, and unreasonable. Why it matters. While the officer is female, the case again raises issue of use of force, accountability, and the perception that some serious misconduct doesn't always result in dismissal. It touches on gender too. Female officers may be held to different expectations, yet this shows serious misconduct occurred anyway. Reflection. The system's response matters. Finding gross misconduct without dismissal can send a weak message. Raises questions. Is there parity of consequences for male versus female officers? How does this affect public trust, especially among women? 3. Tia Johnson Warren, female police officer, Hampshire Constabulary. What happened? In early 2025, she was dismissed for gross misconduct after a night out in Ryde, Isle of Wight, during which she groped 2 male colleagues, sent provocative texts and pictures, and rubbed one colleague's crotch. Why it matters. This example shows that misconduct by officers of any gender can involve misuse of power, unwanted sexual advances, and can damage internal professional relationships. Important because often misconduct is framed in terms of male officers abusing female victims. This flips that dynamic. Female officer, male colleagues. Reflection. Police work demands high professional standards inside and outside duty. Off-duty behavior still reflects on the force. Internal culture and accountability matter. It also suggests that misconduct is not purely a gendered issue, though power dynamics remain central. 4. System-wide statistics and institutional issues. What the numbers tell us. Between October 2021 and April 2022, the National Police Chiefs Council reported 1,483 distinct allegations against 1,539 officers of violence against women or girls, but fewer than 1% of those officers were dismissed. A broader report found that in the same period, complaints included sexual harassment, abusive position for sexual purpose, etc. Why it matters. These data illustrate that the problem is not just individual cases, but part of a bigger pattern of allegation versus consequence. It also shows the gap between hearing allegations and concluding cases, or dismissals, which feeds into public skepticism about policing culture. Reflection. For a story about disturbing officer scandals, these stats provide the backdrop. Multiple cases, not just isolated aberrations. For trust in policing, it's as important to address culture and accountability systems as to pinpoint individual miscreants. 5. Institutional sexism and culture in the Metropolitan Police Service. What's been revealed? Issues of sexism, misogyny, harassment inside the Met have been documented, with female officers and female members of the public raising concerns. One case, the force's Anti-Corruption and Professional Standards Department, under a senior female officer, was accused of attempting to discredit a woman groomed by a male officer in the force instead of properly investigating her allegations. Why it matters. Even when officers or staff are women, the institutional culture may nonetheless enable or ignore misconduct. The grooming discrediting scenario is particularly troubling because it shows how power imbalances combined with gendered vulnerabilities. Reflection. For your video or script context, this gives a deeper layer. This is not just bad apples, but organizational failure. Highlights intersection, gender, power, policing, trust.